So number 32 says, and Halley's Comet, now in a part of its orbit relatively far from the sun, recently flared brightly enough to be seen by a telescope. Okay, so far we're saying Halley's Comet is, wherever Halley's Comet is in its orbit, it's actually pretty far from the sun, but recently the comet flared bright enough that we could see the comet with a telescope. No comet has ever been observed to flare so far from the sun before. So such a flare must be highly unusual. All right, so Anne's conclusion is that the flare must be highly unusual. Sue says nonsense. Usually, no one bothers to try to observe comets when they are so far from the sun. This flare was observed only because an observatory was tracking Halley's Comet very carefully. All right, so Sue's conclusion is this flare was only observed because we were watching Halley's Comet carefully. So how does Sue go about challenging Anne's reasoning? So if I'm going to predict my answer here is Sue kind of brings in like this new piece of information of saying, like she kind of justifies why no one has ever, like why the flare has never been observed, right? It's like it's not, we don't know if it's really that highly unusual. We don't normally look for it, but this time we specifically were. All right, so A says, pointing out that Anne used the term observed is excessively, no, we don't do that. So that one's pretty easy to cross off.
Yeah.
Drawing attention to an inconsistency between two of Anne's claims. No, we don't say like, oh, Anne, you contradicted yourself. See, presenting evidence that directly contradicts Anne's evidence.
I think this was the one I originally picked.
So do we say anything that directly contradicts something? And so if she said, no one has ever saw the comet before, and then we said, no, one person saw it before, like that would be directly countering, right?
Oh, because I took it as like where I got the directly contradicting part was when she was like, only because,
Right.
know?
But does that mean that but are we contradicting anything that she's like, we're contradicting her conclusion that it's highly unusual. We're not contradicting any of her premises. Like, we don't necessarily even disagree with any of her premises, right? Like, do we disagree that no comet has ever been observed to flare so far from the sun before?
So we do maintain that.
Yeah, so we're not contradicting it. We just are going against the why. All right, D, offering an alternative explanation for the, oh, I like this. We're offering an alternative explanation.
Because you said additional information, so yeah.
Yeah. And so what is our alternative explanation? It's that we're actually tracking Halley's Comet.
Tracking, yeah.
Not that it's, yep. And then E says undermining some of Anne's evidence while agreeing. Yeah, we don't agree with her conclusion at all. So we can cross that one off. And that's why our answer is D.
Awesome.